Welcome everybody. It is Saturday, the 24th of April. It's 3:30 in the afternoon, British summertime, and it really is summer today. And we're really delighted. We're having a webinar with Dr. Wesley Fryer, lesson ideas and tips for language teachers using Scratch, Minecraft, and more. My name's Helen Myers. I'm chair of the Association for Language Learning London branch, and I'm really happy that our branch can host these webinars, which we've been doing. I think we're up to about 140, something like that now. But the most important person, the person who's been coordinating all of this, meeting all of these famous people who's introduced us to, is Joe. Joe later on is going to be incredibly enthusiastic as he introduces our guest today. But first of all, Joe, tell us about you and what you can offer.
Lovely. Thanks so much, Helen. So welcome, everybody. It's lovely to be here with everybody. And yeah, just so excited about this particular presentation. Can't wait. But a little bit about me to start off with. So I'm now an independent languages consultant. I make a living through running webinars and supporting schools from around the world. In the chat, I put in some example sessions that you can have a look at. If there's anything there that jumps at you or you want me to design something bespoke for you, just let me know. I'd be absolutely delighted to help you in a remote teaching or hybrid teaching or online teaching context, whatever context you find yourselves in. And it's lovely that we've got an international audience. We've got people from different parts of the world right now. So it's amazing. Isn't it amazing, these webinars that we can do and have people from literally all over the world? It's fantastic. Anyway, back to Helen, and we'll introduce our fantastic speaker in a moment.
Okay. And certainly I can really recommend Joe. A lot of our speakers have been people who've benefited from Joe's training and have then gone on to be able to demonstrate how they've used what he's taught them. So thank you so much, Joe, for all you do. Just a word about the Association for Language Learning. That is the association to belong to if you're a teacher. We're there to help, really, I suppose, introduce people to each other. Of course, we have got the internet, we've got Twitter, we've got Facebook, but it's good to belong to an actual organisation. And that means that we're at a level where we can perhaps have some influence as well. So if there is something going on with changes with languages, the Department for Education, Ofqual, Ofsted, they will come to us to find out what we think, and we can then articulate your views. We don't necessarily have a view ourselves. We don't say, well, this is what people have to think. The important thing is that we're there to help people form alliances if necessary, think about what they want to say. And at the moment, as you know, we've got something about the GCSE languages, which is going on. So it's great to be a member. It doesn't cost an awful lot. And please, if you belong, could you now say in the chat that you belong and tell people they should belong? So and if you come from another country and you're part of an association for language learning of whatever sort, if you could let us know which one, that would be great to know that. We've met lots of people through these webinars who are from different associations. As far as these webinars are concerned, you can access all of them by going onto our site. There's a link and there's a scan, and you can click on links and find out what's going on. I'm putting together a list of everything, so you could do a search and find things to suit you. We've got lots coming up. Joe's been working hard to get all these people together. So we've got Shiva, who's coming on Thursday, the 6th of May, to do with game-based teaching interactive learning. And look at that list that we've got there. The ones which are highlighted, the ones which Joe has done, which are particularly to do with technology, but we do have others as well. So you'll be hearing about those. And in fact, the one for Danielle is already live. You'll be able to apply, get a ticket for that now. So thank you again to Joe for doing all of this for us. But this is what you're here for today. So I'm about to close my video and let Joe enthuse, and we're all enthusiastic about our guest today. So over to you, Joe.
Okay, well, where do I start really? So myself and Wes have been connected since we're working out probably since about 2005, but this is the first time we've ever actually seen each other sort of live in a webinar, what have you. Obviously, I'd love to come to Oklahoma and meet face to face, but I must say I'm not joking when I say this. I think that Wes must be one of the founding fathers of the Web 2.0 movement, which happened around sort of 2005 or so, and so we've been connected, I think, ever since then. Like myself, Wes is a huge fan of audio, educational audio, and so I've certainly listened to many of his musings and reflections over the year using a variety of different platforms. And when I saw that Wes had been doing a bit of Spanish with Scratch, Minecraft, and so on, I thought well, I thought, should I contact him? Would he say yes? And bless him, he did say yes when I asked him to do a Tilt webinar. So I'm sure Wes will talk all about how he was asked to teach a bit of Spanish. I know that it's not, languages is not what it normally Wes teaches. He's well, he'll be able to tell you, but basically he's been supporting teachers for many, many years in his role at his current school, as well as online, of course. He does a regular podcast, which is also live on the web as well at the same time. And he's passionate about digital storytelling. This particular topic, we haven't covered anything at all so far around coding, Scratch or Minecraft. I know as well, Helen is a big fan of as she says, Second Life and Minecraft. So she's equally excited about this.
I am.
So without further ado, over to you, Wes, and thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I'm so delighted that you're here. Over to you.
Well, thank you so much. I am not only delighted to be here, I'm delighted to be on time, because time zones can be challenging even when you've done a lot. So you can access these slides as has been mentioned on the website wfryer.me/language. And today I really want to share some of the best projects and student work examples that came out of the fall semester. And so let me just tell you briefly about myself a little. I live here in Oklahoma City. My wife Shelly and I have 3 children now. Only one remains at home. Our son actually lived with us for 10 months after graduating from college, and he just moved down to Houston. I come from an educational family, and all of the resources the resources for today, and then ways, if you want to connect with me, I'm certainly on Twitter and share there, but you can just go to this link, wesfryer.com/after. I was fortunate after college to be able to study on a Fulbright scholarship in Mexico City for a year. I was actually in the Air Force, almost in another life, it seems now. But I really, of course, loved the opportunity to be immersed in the Spanish language. And so what happened at school was my office mate, or my in the classroom adjacent to me, because I was our technology director for 4 years. And then I was allowed to pivot by our head of school. Our school has about 925 students, a little over 200 teachers, full-time and part-time. And after being a tech director, I wanted to go back to the classroom, and I wanted to work with teachers and honestly not be responsible for fixing everybody's device. And so in cybersecurity, and there's all these things. So anyway, I was next to our languages chair for the middle school. And when the pandemic happened, we needed to have additional teachers. We had a teacher go on maternity leave. And so we needed a 5th grade Spanish teacher. So I taught Spanish for the first time this fall, and I loved it. And it was so fun. And one of the reasons it was so fun was because I've been teaching technology and technology integration and working with teachers. I continue as a half-time instructional coach for our school. But it was wonderful to teach content to my students, and we're not teaching technology, we're just using technology. And so this website is one that I started back in 2013, I think, and it's called Show with Media. And so what do you want to create today? Show what you know with media. And of course, these kinds of strategies, which are rooted not only in constructivism, but constructionism in the spirit of Seymour Papert. I love the pedagogy of John Dewey, of Paulo Freire, of Papert. I really think that as we create, and as whether we're teacher or student, because we're all learners, that can really provide a powerful window into the mind of the student. So here's where we're going today, and we will. I'll do some pauses. If you've got questions, drop them into the chat, and Joe and the other facilitators can give them voice. I want to share with you basically 6 different kinds of projects that we did in my Spanish class this last year. And I'll mention too, all of the students at our school take a half year of Spanish and a half year of French in their year 5. So these are basically 10 and 11-year-olds. And then at the end of that year, they decide where they want to continue with. And then after middle school, they can take Chinese and they can go beyond Spanish and French. But those are our 2 core languages. So really, my goal as a teacher here was to help them enjoy the language and to have fun and to develop a desire, hopefully, to take more Spanish. So we're going to talk about Scratch. We're going to talk about briefly Loom, which I used quite a bit for screencasting and movie talks. Floorplanner.com, we designed houses, the students labeled them, they did tours of them in Spanish. Some Minecraft projects that we did, some finger puppet dialogues that we did, and of course with social distancing, I need to mention, we have been back face-to-face in school since August 14th. We are unique in that we have had some periods of time where an entire grade level, or for a while our entire high school, was remote. Like the rest of the world, in March of 2020, we all went remote, and we stayed remote, for the end of the 2019-2020 school year. But except for a few times, we have been predominantly face-to-face, but socially distanced, smaller classes, all wearing masks, all taking precautions. And thankfully, all of our teachers who have wanted vaccines are now vaccinated. So anyway, in that context, when we're doing, lessons in person, we had kids in and out, and some kids would be what we call flex. So they're short-term quarantine. Some of them are long-term quarantine. So there was a lot of different things going on this year. The last thing I want to share, and I wish really I had started this at the beginning of the year, was a cumulative portfolio with Book Creator. If I could go back in time, or I was going to teach, Spanish again, I would really start with this and have my students put their projects and things that they were creating into a Book Creator book as a reflective portfolio, and what could eventually become a summative portfolio of the things that they have learned. So again, as I already kind of mentioned, some of my goals, I really wanted, of course, to help students develop their Spanish vocabulary. I wanted them to use vocabulary in a meaningful context. And one of the most important things I need to say right now is a huge thank you to Lynn Robertson, who is now the chair of our modern language or world language department at our school, because she really took me under her wing. And our former chair actually had retired, and just introduced me to comprehensible input, introduced me to some wonderful instructional professional development videos that she had, been learning from, and the whole comprehensible input pedagogy, rooted in Stephen Krashen and in language development, not, first language development, second language development. Wow, how powerful. Instead of a traditional, here's your textbook, here's your vocabulary list, let's memorize these. How can we find meaningful ways, and if it's beneficial to talk slowly and not too fast, then maybe I think I succeeded in that, because being able to help students hopefully be immersed in the language, but speak in ways that are slow enough and comprehensible enough that they're going to be, gaining their ability to recognize words and use those words, and focusing less on the production by students of language, but more in the consumption, in the absorption, and in the learning. And a phrase that we like at our school is durable learning, and that's sticky learning, things that kids are really gonna, remember beyond even the class, and that was certainly one of the goals that I had here. So we have done a lot of Scratch projects, and the slideshow that I've shared with you has live links, and I would really encourage you, if you can, to go back and explore these. This is a studio, which is kind of like a playlist of YouTube, but Scratch, if you're not familiar with it, is a completely free block-based programming language that MIT has offered to the world in multiple languages for over 10 years. There are millions of projects about all kinds of things. And I have been using Scratch and sharing Scratch and helping not only students, but teachers, use Scratch for quite a while. We use Scratch primarily for language projects. And so we created this studio so that students would be able to share some of their projects. And what I want to do here initially is just show you the culminating project that we did. Now, over the course of the semester, the fall semester, my students did, I think, 4 different dialogue projects. And by a dialogue project, I mean either usually with a partner, sometimes individually, they came up with a dialogue, and we, translated that into Spanish, and, we used translation tools, but we, had lots of conversations about their limits and tried to say things, in some simple vocabulary. But what students started with here, and I guess it says this was their third project, they did a puppet dialogue as well. I really like starting with a template. In other words, not starting with a blank slate, but I have already provided students, and this is a project you can access and you could use, modify yourself. Scratch is a wonderful environment because it encourages, but also provides attribution for who created this project and sort of the lineage of it. So I made this template. It had a background that Pixar had provided. It had different characters, I think 7, and then the students picked, I wanted them probably to stick with 2. Some of them made more. And then it already had scripts. So there was an English and a Spanish version. Again, this is the third one. We built up to this, but I want to play just a little bit of this for you. Actually, I think this is the recording of it. So yeah, let me go ahead and play this, or a little bit. It's about 1.5 minutes. So press S.
Hola, Ernesto de la Cruz. Me gusta su guitarra. Gracias, niño. Hola, Carabros. Yo escapo de la oficial. Qué bueno. Tuve un sueños de ustedes. Fuimos a la fiesta. Me gustan las fiestas. No me importa. Miguel, tú eres casi un escuelito. Yo no soy moto. Yo te llamo por una razón. Voy a escapar al otro lado con Miguel. Voy a ver Coco con Miguel. No, ayúdame por favor. Necesitas escapar la niebla. No voy a ayudarte con ese. Yo tampoco. O si tú serás. Adiós, niños.
Okay.
Hello, Ernesto de la Cruz. I like your...
I won't play the whole English version. In the chat, if you want to comment on things that you noticed about that. Of course, I love student voice, as Joe said, and I love the opportunity for students to be able to use expression. So many times students are going to be able to, certainly in their first language, express themselves much more fluently verbally than they can with writing. But there's a whole lot of things to love about this project. And so if you just want to comment on the chat on some of the things that you noticed, I'm going to go ahead and click over. I guess I had already opened it. Here's the project on the Scratch website. One of the things that you can do on the Scratch website, this is the project page. And I click this little button that says See Inside. And I'm not logged into Scratch, but you can see the code blocks that the students use here. And this project is basically set up to have an English and a Spanish version, and the characters are either talking or they're waiting. And to keep it simple, I encourage my students to use, in fact, she didn't do 8 seconds, she did 4 seconds, which is fine. But to use the same kind of wait. So every once in a while, they're kind of stepping on each other. But this kind of project, this is a culminating project for the semester, but this is eminently doable. And it's also, doable in a much simpler form. But I really love the creativity, opportunity, the chances for students to make choices about what they wanted to share and how they wanted to share it, and to demonstrate what they have learned, as well as their creativity. Okay, so let's talk about a beginning project. We just started off with a very simple animation, but adding our voice. And so we would do movie talks, and I actually used Pixar movies primarily. I asked my kids at the beginning of the year, what are your favorite movies? And I was like, we're not doing PG-13 R movies at school. So we use Pixar, but we would build some vocabulary lists. I learned again from Lynn Robertson, our language chair. The whole strategy of a movie talk is showing a short clip, but just muting the audio and pausing it as needed, and talking about what kinds of things do we see. I actually had my students sharing a Google Sheet and creating a list of words in English as we watched these, and then we translated those. And so for some different projects, that was kind of the model. And so this was a project that we did. This is a how-to video, because again, I had students who were remote, long-term, and then some that were just short-term. And so I really needed, kids couldn't always in class live, even though we're live streaming classes and doing all of these things we've done during the pandemic. I had students that needed to, learn this at home, and I would conference with them. But anyway, different resources to help them. And this was just a very, very basic lesson. The link that's down here, if you click on that link, goes to my curriculum site. Now, my primary teaching role is to teach media literacy, but because I had this opportunity to teach Spanish, I created a new section of my site for these lessons. And so this is just free. You can access this. And in many cases, I've got examples. We used Seesaw as a way to share our work, and for students to, let's see if I can go back here. Sorry. As a way for students to be able to see each other's work, and also to record and things like that. But this is what we started. It was a very basic kind of project. We added on a little bit more narration in a next project. These were short. These were 10 to 30 seconds. As you can see here, we had different vocabulary words that we were using. I let my kids use Google Translate, but we tried to keep it short and simple. And of course, I wanted them to share this with me. And in many cases, we simplified some things in terms of the language. Let's see. This was another project where they were, I guess this was the final one that I showed you. We talked about the movie Coco. We were going for them to use about 10 vocabulary words. And then they had the dialogue that they did both in English and in Spanish. So this is really important. This is my slideshow, the planning slideshow. As you think about doing media projects with students, of course, it's important to start small and to start with something that is very doable. I love what Scratch founder Mitch Resnick says, projects that have a low bar and a high ceiling. A low bar meaning that anybody can get in and start creating something, but then they can go further. It has a high ceiling. And so this is a lot of steps. This was a culminating project, but these were the 8 steps. And so this slideshow, which we use Google Classroom as our learning management system. It's not quite a full learning management system, but that's what we're using, and it works really well. Students were all given their own copy. When you make a new assignment in Google Classroom, you have the chance to say, for a slideshow or a document or a spreadsheet, let every student get a copy. And it puts their name at the top, and they have editing rights to change it. And so this is what students would do. They would go ahead and change this. So they would, and I'm not in view only mode, so I'm not editing this right now in this account. But I just had them, these are the characters that were in the project. They kept the ones they wanted. They put X's over the ones that they didn't. They went ahead and put the words that they were going to use, and then they started to write their script. They wrote their script in English, they wrote it in Spanish, and then ultimately they put their link here. So I really have enjoyed and continue to use slideshows in Google Sheets as a way to help. Jumping around here, as a way to help organize the projects, and really serve as a way that I am sharing my expectations, even my rubric, and that has worked well. Let me just pause really quick, because I've said a lot there. Do we have any questions, Joe, in the chat? Does anybody want to ask? And then I'll go forward into Loom, and we'll do questions at the end as well. But anything that's come up that you want to?
People are just loving it. They're loving the creativity, and people particularly like the low bar, high ceiling quote. One person has asked about what is Seesaw. So I was just sort of writing in the chat about, it's a learning management system, etc. But do you want to talk about a little bit about what Seesaw is and how you're using it at your school?
I would love to. So Seesaw, you can use free, but our school subscribes to what's called Seesaw for Schools. And so we are able to, I don't know if I may have some slides about this as well. We're able to, seeing our dogs here. Maybe I'll just answer this in my slides. We're able to use it as a learning journey, a learning journal. And so when students are creating any kind of project, or even we can have an activity inside Seesaw, we use that for all of our pre-K and kindergarten students and everyone in first through third grade. Beyond third grade, it's just available for teachers, and a number of our language teachers, some of our art teachers use it. It is not as teacher-centered because students can post to Seesaw, and that's why it's called a learning journal. But especially during the pandemic, we needed a platform. Our younger kids don't have email addresses, and we needed a platform, and so we've used that. So good question. Anything else that is a question that's just come up?
Nothing so far. I think people are just really loving the creativity in it, and they're saying that they're using Scratch already in technology lessons, and they're being inspired by how they can combine it in language lessons, because it's normally the other way around. It's normally language lessons being inspired by other subjects, whereas in fact this is the other way around, which is great.
That's right. And so in fact, I mean, I shared this on Twitter, and that's how Joe connected with this. This was a presentation that I had prepared for our middle division or middle school language teachers, and I just, if there's even one person that goes and does a Scratch project with students because of this, it's wonderful to see students and teachers develop literacy skills and then apply them in different areas. So wonderful. Well, I would encourage you not to be intimidated by Scratch, because coding can be an intimidating word. Math can be an intimidating word for people too. So can language, foreign language or second language. But it is, if you can find, especially when you find students that get set on fire with excitement and they show their projects, that's the gold, right? And they teach each other. And I have my students teaching me things all the time, and I love showing their projects and sharing them and inspiring each other. So yay, Scratch. Okay, let's talk about Loom. Loom is a screen recording software, but it is completely free for teachers. In fact, I just helped one of our teachers get signed up. I have recorded things on my screen with different tools over time. We use Screencastify a lot with our students. Our middle schoolers, the fifth and the seventh and eighth graders this year have all had Chromebook. Our sixth graders had iPads. So my fifth graders all have a Chromebook, and we record with Screencastify. But I have really liked Loom, and especially for making clips that I'm privately just doing for myself. As I said, when I asked my kids their favorite movies to do movie talk, so we're like, nope, we're not doing that. But I love Pixar. I love the creativity of Pixar. And so with the Disney Plus, I didn't want to just open up Disney Plus and try to do that live. So I used Loom to record short. And by the way, from a copyright standpoint, and I know this is different in different countries, here in the United States, we have what's called fair use. And it's not educational fair use, it's fair use. And there's 4 different things that determine whether it's a copyright violation. One of the things that's important is I'm using this in an educational context with limited access. So like I'm not going to be giving everybody links. Although, did I do one here? Okay, I have given you one link. Here's an example of the opening scene from Monsters University. All right. And again, if we were doing this as a movie talk, I would. Monsters University. ¿Alguien baja aquí? I've got this playing in Spanish. But maybe we're going to do this repeatedly, and we're going to talk about a little bit. ¿Quién está adentro del bus? Se llama Mike. Mike está andando. Él está saliendo el bus. He is leaving the bus. And I'll be talking about this, describing this, and then we're going to be developing our vocabulary words. So that's an example of using Loom as a way to record a screencast, and I love it. It is fantastic. It's easy. They give you an unlimited license as a teacher, even if you've screen recorded. It also is try it. I would encourage you to try it. It also is recorded automatically online. So with some other tools, and Screencastify is too, but like if I just used, let's say, QuickTime Player on my Mac, that's a file that I then have to go export, save on my computer, put it on Google Drive. I really don't want to I'm not putting these on YouTube because I don't have the right to, put this out for the world. Loom worked wonderful. It was my wonderful tool for screencasting. There is both a desktop app and a Chrome extension. I use the desktop app. So yay Loom. Let's talk about Floor Planner. So our former department chair of our language department is from Costa Rica, and he loved doing projects with students, about houses, and he was recreating an actual physical diorama of his hometown, and students were labeling that and talking about that. And the other Spanish teacher teaching introductory Spanish actually inspired me to do this project because they were doing posters where the kids were designing a house, and they were labeling the house, and then they were going to present about it and develop that vocabulary. And so I learned about from our makerspace teacher, whose name is Eric Sappington. He's one of those amazing teachers that, always knows different tools to use and just a great resource. He said, well, do you know about Floor Planner? No, I don't. Well, it's completely free to use to create basic web-based designs of houses. And it has a tool for labeling. And there you go. We can use it. And so on their Chromebooks, my kids were able to log into Floor Planner, and we designed a house. And I mean, some of my kids, this was their favorite project of the whole year. With some of these projects, by the way, I had students go above and beyond, right? They went beyond what I was asking them to do. But this is one of my fifth graders' projects. I'll play a little bit of it. And she recorded a screencast of her tour. And what I did was provide the students with sentence stems and an introduction. And of course, they practiced it. Joe knows this. I love audio so much when it's recorded like this, because we have no idea how many times, just listening to it, you don't have any idea how many times did the student take to do their recording. Maybe this was their first take, but maybe they practiced 4 or 5 times. And it gives students an opportunity to really put their best foot forward. There's a lot of fear that students as well as adults and teachers have about, presenting live. So anyway, let me play you a little bit of this.
Hola y bienvenidos a mi casa. Mi nombre es Elizabeth. Vamos conmigo a un visita a la casa de mis sueños. Aquí está la mesa auxiliar. Aquí está la cama. Aquí está la ventana y escritorio. Aquí hay un ordenador. Aquí está la lámpara.
Okay, I'm going to turn the volume down here, but this is a screencast that the students recorded in Screencastify. It's just their open Floor Planner. I think you can only do one floor with Floor Planner, but she said La Casa de mis Sueños. This is the house of dreams, and there are hundreds, if not thousands, of different objects that you can put in your floor plan. And so again, I had some basic requirements for this. Some students went beyond that. But anyway, kids loved it. It was fantastic. And it's a tool that's free to use. This is an example of what the planning kind of looked like for this. So again, you can use that link to access the full lesson plan. We brainstormed together different words about houses and vocabulary, and then we talked about how we would translate those, and then the students were selecting some of these, and then they created a script and then recorded that. Let's talk about Minecraft. Actually, in the chat, why don't you let us know if you have ever used Minecraft and played it yourself. So that's question 1. Have you ever been in Minecraft yourself? And then question 2 is there anybody here who has used it with students? My history with Minecraft, our son, who's now 23, got into Minecraft years ago, And I actually went to a conference in Chicago, and a friend of mine, we were just talking about things, and he really just, and I should have known this, but he encouraged me to get into Minecraft and play with him. And he taught me so much. And I am certainly not an expert in Minecraft, but I have been on a journey. Minecraft, even though it's block-based and it's relatively simple, it is incredible to be able to design in a virtual world. Joe, what do we have as far as responses? Many people have Minecraft experience, or?
Absolutely, yeah. Helen is a Minecraft fan. We've had a few other people. G-Top is saying, yes, I know and have played Minecraft. Karine saying her children play Minecraft, but not herself. Steph, see my son play on it for years. Yeah, so awesome. A few people. Awesome. I was going to ask as well, if it's okay. We had a question in the chat. What is a makerspace or a makerspace planner? Would that be okay to deal with that?
Yes,
okay.
Of course. So we have been, evolving our curriculum in terms of what computer class means in our middle school as well as high school, across the board, actually. The makerspace, as we have it, is it was just a computer lab, but now there are a lot of tools, and it's kind of like the workshop of the 21st century for school. So we have 3D printers, we have laser cutters. There's a lot of different tools for building and making things, and teachers have an opportunity to work with our makerspace teacher who like me teaches class half the day, but then he works with teachers half the time and students, and they actually come into the makerspace. For instance, our 7th grade English class reads, I think it's not, what is it called? It's a wonderful book whose title I should know, that's about a boy in Africa who learns how to make an electrical generator with wind, and it's his story. And so the students actually 3D print and build windmills, and then have little sensors that are able to sense how much electricity is being generated and power lights, and so it's this merge or fusion. It's like shop class of the 21st century. That's a way to think about the makerspace. And sometimes we're doing technology intensive things, other times it's more hands-on, but the kids build air launched rockets, or there's I think we've done the water propelled rockets, different kinds of projects, the circuit playground, and then the microbit. I know there in the UK, you all have done a lot with microbits, and so we have microbits, and that's what that is. So Minecraft, though, for the Chromebooks that we've had, which we're all going to be getting new ones next year, we're very excited, and they should run Minecraft. Our old Chromebooks wouldn't do it. So in order to do Minecraft with my Spanish class, I arranged to go to our makerspace where there are iMac computers, and then my students were able to be in Minecraft. And let me just say that if you're looking for a project which is going to engage middle school students, but this may be beyond middle school, and you also want to have something integrated that's going to bring together different kinds of skills, and also something that I think is really, it portends the future. We are living in, I love the quotation that the future is already here, it's just not evenly distributed. The world that we're in and we're moving rapidly into, it has a combination of both the digital and the virtual, with the face-to-face and the synchronous right now. And so anyway, Minecraft, it's blocky. It's like the Lego bricks that you snap together. It doesn't look high def, but the creativity, which people, not just students, but all kinds of people have and can have in this environment is amazing. And so I've used Minecraft for a while as a teacher. One of the projects that we did towards the end of the year, again, building on what we had done with the house, with Floor Planner, is we went ahead and built houses together collaboratively in Minecraft. So each student is on a computer, but my laptop actually is hosting this, and we are together, and students are building, and they're labeling. And we didn't end up getting everyone to do a tour. I thought we'd do a screencast tour. But again, we had used movie talks, we'd used vocabulary lists. This built on the past project that we did with Floor Planner. This was a little overview. I'm trying to think. Oh, okay. And this, we ran out of time. I was going to invite them because my students have done tours before of their Minecraft world. And if you don't have time for students to do that, you can also, this was one of the houses that we built in one of my 2 Spanish classes. And so students could be narrating over the top of this. You know, we can play this silent recording, but this gives you a sense. And this was all built by students. This is all labeled by them. And having this context to use our vocabulary and then to talk about it. I love a lot of kids have some YouTube literacy today when it comes to, you know, hi everybody, welcome to my video. Today we're going to such and such, you know, and so kids, a lot of them really got into that. And so anyway, what we ended up doing, because we didn't just have the time for everyone to do the tour, was we did a scavenger hunt. And so this was completed, and we had spent several class periods, and I'd actually had kids that wanted to work on this after class and in other times. And anyway, and I worked on this some too myself on a weekend to, you know, polish stuff up and sometimes fix some labels or some things. But we did a scavenger hunt. And so these were the instructions. In Minecraft Education, which cost $5 US per student. And we get that for all of our middle schoolers. Students have a camera and it makes a portfolio that all these pictures go in. And so they had to take selfies with these different signs, and then they only had so much time in order to do that. And so let me see if I can stop my video here. So these are the screenshots. What they turned in to me was their portfolio that they made. It's a PDF that they download. They turned it into me in Google Classroom, and these were selfies that they took with all of these. And let's see. Oh yeah. Okay, cool. I guess I'm going to show this in Seesaw. So this is going to link out. You can share things directly from Seesaw. And so the students then took several of their pictures and then basically just did a narration about those. So this is really short.
Bienvenidos en mi proyecto de mi buscar para fotos en Minecraft. Yo soy Scarlett.
Okay, and then I guess I didn't share more than that. Oh, duh, Wes. Let's go to the slides. Okay, these are recorded slide by slide. That was the first slide.
Foto. Yo estoy al lado de el salón grande.
Again, these are 5th graders in their first Spanish class. I'm giving them sentence stems that they can use, and then they're choosing, you know, what they're going to show. But this is Scarlett's character, you know.
Esta foto, yo estoy al lado de la ventana.
In this photo, I'm by the side of the window. So anyway, that's it. And that also shows you how Seesaw gives you an opportunity, if you want to and your students want to, actually to be able to share directly out of the program. Okay, actually, let's see, Joe, do we have any questions? We've got, I think we got about 12 more minutes, and I've got 2 more projects to talk about.
Yeah, we got a couple. We've got one question in particular. Do the students need to be physically together to record on Scratch, or can they do it virtually?
They can do it virtually. Yes, Scratch. Boy, that's why I started with it, because if there's anything you take away from this, Scratch is, they can't collaboratively build in the same project at the same time the way you can with a Google document or slide or something. But yes, it can be completely asynchronous. It can be completely remote. There is, and I just learned this year, you can apply for a Scratch teacher account that can help you in the management of that and being able with their passwords. And that can be a challenge, but I look at that as sort of a speed bump that gets you out of the parking lot onto the highway. Everyone has to create their account and they verify their account. But that teacher account can help. And so, yeah, students can be at home, remote. And I really do believe that helping teach, not just students and young people, but teachers as well, to screencast, to record. One of my favorite things to say, and you can quote me on this, video is the pencil of the 21st century. You know, we are all pretty much, that are teaching right now steeped in the book, or steeped in a written linguistic culture in which that is how we transmitted ideas and we shared them. And that is still so important, but it's certainly not the only way. And it could be argued that it's not today the primary way ideas are shared and things are communicated. Video is so powerful. So helping students learn to record and screencast, but how about expressing themselves and using their language? Perfect for foreign language and second language, and just language acquisition in general, whether it's a primary or a secondary language. Anything else, Joe, right now?
One other, well, it's quite a sort of open-ended question. How long would you take to prepare the different sort of projects you've been showing us, like say the Scratch project or Minecraft? How long would you spend on getting the students up to scratch? Sorry, excuse the pun. Ready for doing the content?
So it varies. I'm going to click here on the Spanish link on my website, and I guess actually I have these organized here under lessons. So it kind of varies. If we want to go to the Spanish Scratch dialogue, we introduce these things in stages. And so project 1, I think we probably took 3 45-minute lessons to introduce that. But we set that up with, vocabulary and students selecting, and not all my students had done Scratch before. In fact, it was new to a lot of them. Some of them had, but it really varies. And I love this statement about digital storytelling. It's never done, it's just do. And these kinds of projects as well can be very open-ended. And so sometimes you need to modify. Like I said, I had hoped with this Minecraft for students to record and do this screencast. We ended up not having the time. So we had spent probably 3 different lessons, and my kids would have loved to just do this. They love Minecraft, but we ended up spending about 3 lessons where we built and took the vocabulary and we divided it up. Right? We said, okay, Scarlett, these are 3 words. I want you to create these, label these, and then we took this one day to do the scavenger hunt. So it just really varies, but it's modifiable, and projects like this I really do think can be durable for students. Okay, let's talk about finger puppets. I actually really like being silly and the whimsical creativity that can come from a project like a finger puppet dialogue. Let me play this for you, and then I'll say a few words about this. This, by the way, was recorded. I don't know, do I have a picture? Let me see if I can go to my next. Yeah, look, this is how this was done. Now, for social distancing at this time, our rule was students had to be masked and they couldn't be closer than 6 feet for more than 10 minutes. So this was technically still in compliance with what we were doing social distancing wise. But this is an iPad. That is a piece of green butcher paper. The kids have made a script and we just printed it so that we could tape it up there. And then they're just recording it in their camera roll. So you can actually do this in any camera, any tablet or phone, but they're using finger puppets. And then I had a little mount. That's not the mount that's shown here. Isn't the $17 one. But then we used a little app called Green Screen, which I think is $3 in order to make the video. So let me actually go back, play you a little bit of this. Oh, I gotta turn my volume up. Okay, hold on. We got to hear this.
Mira, aquí está mi
Let's go to the
acción. ¿Quieres ir en una aventura?
Por supuesto.
Mira, aquí está mi abuela.
Hola, ¿cómo están ustedes? Aquí están unos sombreros y regalos.
Muchas gracias.
De nada. Vámonos a la montaña.
Okay, I'm gonna mute it there. Finger puppets, they are wonderful. It can be very intimidating to have a camera pointed at our face. This is one of the reasons I love, and I think probably Joe as well, loves audio, the power of audio. It can be less complicated, but there's something about just getting finger puppets out in a classroom, even with kids who are older, they get excited. And so structuring this and this could be something that they could do individually, and they could make their own puppets too. But anyway, I have a bag of finger puppets because I've kind of collected them over the years. And this was one of the early dialogue projects that we did. And I think that we probably don't invite students often enough in formal educational settings to be creative. And as teachers, I know that I'm guilty of often just having my formal teacher face and teacher persona. And I'm not saying that it's just crazy and wild, but I mean, we can be silly with this. Use your expression, use a voice. I honestly love playing with voices and just being expressive. And students can do this both in their primary language and a secondary language. I love it. I think there's so much potential here. So again, very basic, not complicated. You could use a smartphone, you could use a tablet, but it is important, I think, to have a tripod and having a holder, and you can get those relatively inexpensively. I have had access and do to fancier green screens, but you know what? We just used butcher paper here. It worked, and that was the project. I want to mention also one of my favorite apps. So my students have been doing oral history projects, family oral history interviews in our 6th grade media literacy class. And this app, even though it has the word pro in it, is totally free. I mean, you could take the ads out if you wanted to pay for it, but it's called Voice Record Pro. If you happen to have iPads or iPhones, I just love this because not only does it let you record, but, and by the way, tip, turn airplane mode on when you record, because that way your recording isn't interrupted by a phone call or a text message. So it's something I share is turn your airplane mode on so you're not connected to the internet. You don't need to record. And then, press record and there you go. And we try not to move it around a lot too, because you can sometimes hear that shuffling. This app lets you not only share, let's say, to Google Drive, to your learning management system as an audio file, you can also save it as a video onto the photo roll or the camera roll of the iPhone or the iPad, and then that can be shared. So just very flexible. It's free. My kids used it. Okay, I think this might be the last thing. This is the portfolio using a tool called Book Creator. I love creating books, encouraging students to create books, and this was something, as I said, I wish I had started at the beginning of the year. So I had a prompt here and we didn't have time to fully, record and do everything. But as a summative activity, I asked the students to respond things that they enjoyed the most, things that they learned. They could put their projects in. I think this is a project she did.
Yo tengo hambre y quiero comida.
No cambiaron tus sueños como un pollo.
Okay, you can transform your voice in Scratch, and the kids, I showed them that and they learned that, and so that was one of the early projects that she did. But as a portfolio, how wonderful! This is not a completed project. Everything is not here, but I really love Book Creator. You can use that on a limited basis for free. There is an app for the iPad and you can do that, but it's also now online. I've worked with our high school chair of our English department for 4 years now on a project where students have written children's books and been able to share those digitally and electronically, printed them on demand on a website called Lulu, but recording their voices. And this year in the pandemic, they couldn't actually go to the kindergarten classes and read their books and share them. It's all had to be done electronically. So Book Creator is wonderful. And we did a little bit of portfolio work with that. And I wish that I had done that sooner. So I think I have left only a couple minutes for questions, but I will stop sharing my screen here and invite Joe to take it over and let us know. I guess I'll stop pinning myself.
It's been amazing, Wes. Absolutely amazing, fantastic. I think you've really inspired everybody in the audience. One question that came to mind in relation to, say, Scratch, if someone wanted to replicate what you had done there with, say, the movie talks and the dialogues, where would you recommend that they start? Is it possible to take a template and then just to adapt it, or what have you? Or if you'd never done Scratch before, what advice would you give for learning the basics so you could replicate the fantastic examples that you've shown us today?
So I have links in that slideshow that go directly to those projects. And I would recommend looking at some of the basic ones. The one I started with was our culminating project, which is a little more complicated. But on my curriculum site, which I've linked with Scratch projects, I've got some examples. We were using something called a speech bubble. And so with Scratch, you always have to have an event block that starts it. A lot of times that's a green flag, or you click on the sprite. But really, two blocks are what you need primarily there. It's the speech block that pops up and has the words displayed visually like a comic, and then wait. And so I would recommend looking at some of those basic examples and kind of going from there, and work with a young person who maybe they've worked with Scratch or maybe they haven't. It is amazing how quickly, and it's not just an age thing, but the excitement that I find kids have making animations and these things, and we did not record our voices first, again, because with comprehensible input, focusing on students more listening and consuming and absorbing, my focus was not on the production, but we were using text as speech bubbles. But then as they were ready and as we did later projects, we recorded, and Scratch supports the recording right inside. And again, kids can record multiple times and all of that. So I would just, follow some of those links and go to the link that I have. I'll drop it into the chat for the Puppet, the Scratch dialogue projects, and you can take a look at some of those. And those are live on Scratch. You can see them. You can remix them, create your own. So I'll drop this link into the chat, and it's also in the slideshow.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. We also had a question around asking, well, you were saying earlier that you've been teaching face-to-face now for a while, but have you tried to deliver any of these types of projects synchronously via webinar, what have you? And if so, have you had any sort of reflections on the challenges of, say, either if all the students are at home and you're at home as well, or in a hybrid context? How would that work? Or is that something you personally experienced?
Yes, definitely have done that in various forms. When we were all locked down and all remote last spring, I wasn't teaching Spanish. I was teaching my computer classes, but chunking your instruction into pieces and knowing, having a way to be able to share those different video pieces with students is really important. I was fortunate in our 7th grade, we had a very large, relatively large number of students that were full-time remote. For one of my Spanish, I had a couple students who were remote, one of them full-time. And what I ended up doing was meeting with him about every week to answer questions. But then I provided the recordings of our classes. I've done this in the university level too. If that's the only way to get the information, then that's better than nothing, but it's a lot better to have short little tutorials. And so what I tried to do for these lessons was to record a short, no more than 3 or 4 minutes, of the pieces of how to do these things. And then my students who were in class with me in person, they could have those if they wanted to, but then I was trying to design that lesson for the student remotely. And this is hard. I think we are all looking forward to hopefully being closer to a normal next year, but there have been a lot of skills that we've learned. And so being able to chunk your content and have a little screencast and design it so that hopefully students can be navigational themselves and they can work their way through, but then they have a chance to come in live and ask questions. Those are all things that I did here in this last year.
Amazing. That's amazing. Thank you so much. I think I'm not sure we've got any other questions at the moment, but if anyone has any other questions they'd like to put to Wes, this is your opportunity. But I think if it's okay, well, you can see we've got lots of lovely comments in the chat. We've got one question. As a beginner in gamification, where would you start, from the easiest to the hardest tool, and where do you get the best results?
Well, technically, I really haven't, as I understand gamification, I really haven't gamified my classroom. We're certainly doing a lot of projects. There's a wonderful book that's part of the Teach Like a Pirate series that is about gamifying your classroom, that I would recommend. So yeah, I wouldn't call myself at all a gamified teacher in terms of, ways that my kids can get points for doing different things, and the way that our sort of curriculum is gamified. But that book by Michael Matera, when you turn 50, things don't come to you as much.
I know.
Michael Matera has a wonderful book on gamification. That would be my top recommendation of where to start. And just this idea of projects can certainly be part of a gamified classroom, but you don't have to be gamifying your whole curriculum to utilize projects in this way. And as I said, really invite students to show what they know with media.
Yeah, brilliant. I think we're very much on the same page about the power of media, recording the voice and everything. It's you're an inspiration. What can I say, Wes? Amazing. I think what we'll do now, we'll do a group photo. I know Helen likes a group photo, and then if there are any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And if Wes is happy to stay on for a couple of more minutes, that would be amazing. But over to you, Helen. What do you think from a Minecraft fan point of view, Helen? I'm sure you've very much enjoyed the session.
Oh, I really have. Thank you ever so much. I think it's something where, you mean to do things and you just need an injection of enthusiasm, which is what you've given us today. And can I just say personally, what I think is particularly good is the way that you were giving us an idea about how we can make it manageable, because my problem sometimes has been almost letting children a bit too much freedom. And Sarah has mentioned in the chat about the problem that sometimes, you've only got 2 hours to teach them languages during a week. And you're really worried that they will just spend too long fussing about who the characters are, what the story is. They always want to be funny. They always want to make it interesting, don't they? So the way that you showed us a structure to be able to say, there are your characters, these are the phrases that you can use, rather than making it that it's this. So often I think people confuse being creative with someone coming up with their own language that they've never heard of before. So you really did explain that about being comprehensible, I suppose, and really, really good. Thank you ever so much for that.
Fantastic.
And
Lovely.
if anybody is here who likes to open up their webcam, that would be fine, just to take a little picture. I don't know. Sometimes people are a bit shy, but Jerome isn't shy. Look, he's there. So, and lovely to see you all. Miss Sarah. Right, I'm going to just make it so that if you wanted to actually say anything as well, you could. So at the moment, I've only done video. So yeah, here we all are. Great. So in a moment I should be, and Pilar's outside with that blue sky behind her. Or is that a picture of Pilar? Because Pilar, oh no, you are moving.
You are
goodness,
outside.
You are moving, you're really there. You seem to freeze. And there we've got Alexandrina as well. Bulgaria, great. Okay, so I'm about to take a picture. So all smile. 1, 2, 3. There we are, and there's my picture. And Anna not only closed her eyes, but yes, come on, Anna. Right, I'm going to wait till Anna has got her eyes open.
not scarily open.
So Anna, 1, 2, 3, and yeah, she was smiling and she got her eyes open. That's lovely. If anybody else, I mean, there, as you say, there's some lovely, lovely comments in the chat. People have really enjoyed this.
And I think we've had quite a few new people today. Could you let us know in the chat if this is the first time you've been along to a Tilt webinar? Because I'm sure there are some new names we've not seen before. Fantastic. First one for you, Neil. Fantastic. Lovely. Well, do come on back and watch others. And we've done over 140 now since March. And the recordings are on my YouTube channel as well as on the ALL London website. Any final questions for Wes? This is your opportunity to ask the Dr. Wes Fryer a question around Scratch or audio or Loom, or I love the way you were using Loom there. It was really, really brilliant. Any other final questions?
If I could, because I think on the because we've got Microsoft Edu at school, and I haven't used that facility of being able to, so they can actually record and capture their screen, can they, within Microsoft Edu? Is that right? Not Microsoft, Minecraft Edu.
No, I mean they're just not in a recording with voice. So you're gonna have to use another tool with that. It has the camera to do screenshots, and it creates this portfolio, and they can export that as a PDF. And again, I had the kids turn that in via Google Classroom, but you have to use another tool for the screen recording. Now, Google, in an upcoming version of Chrome, is building screencasting in. But as of today, you need to use a different tool. And we use Screencastify, which is free. It has a 5-minute limit, but I don't actually often want students to do more than 5 minutes. So it's perfect. And that worked well as a tool. And maybe your kids have already learned how to do that, and that's great. If not, it's a tool that they can readily do. And again, it opens up lots of possibilities. But limits, to your point, Helen, are really important, because we can't scan through an audio recording the same way we can text. And I think that creativity thrives within constraints. And I stole that from IKEA, because I saw that on a sign in IKEA one time, right? But small spaces and just constraints. Think about a haiku, which I don't love haikus necessarily, but anyway, it is a form. It has a structure.
Yeah.
And you can see wonderful creativity inside the constraints of that structure. So as you design your lessons and your projects and your rubric, definitely give students choices, give them opportunities to make meaningful choices, but have structure so that you can not only make it a little more efficient, a little more doable for them and less overwhelming. It can also be less overwhelming for us as the teachers who need to assess these projects, and may not want a 15-minute tour of their house, but let's do this in 2 minutes or 3 minutes or something.
I loved the idea that the evidence of assessment would be a picture of them in Minecraft. With a trophy or whatever. I think that's a great idea. I'll confess that when I started using Minecraft, my idea had been to make it, live communication there and then. But, well, firstly, you don't have because before I tried it with Second Life, where at least you did have an audio channel, so that you could be talking to each other. And then I could see that we couldn't do that in Minecraft. But I think your idea of using it really as it's almost it's the landscape, the scene for doing something, isn't it? Rather than doing something in there.
It's yes and both. Last summer and again this summer, I've led and will lead again a virtual Minecraft camp. And what we do is we have a Google Meet open during our Minecraft time. And in that case, we're 2 hours a day. This is a summer camp. So I have done that before, but in terms of that's a summer camp and something different. It works. I haven't done that with class. And in class, we're live in class, but it's talk about freedom and kids doing all kinds of things. Minecraft. Our 2 rules are no player versus player attacking and no TNT. You can't blow stuff up, and that's the very beginning. I just say, guys, no, that if you do this, you're out.
And I need to learn more about it, because someone had persuaded me that because they know loads more about Minecraft than I do, and they said that they needed the TNT in order to create some sort of material. They needed gold.
Don't let them
you have these crazy conversations. Normally you're ringing up parents about problems about behavior, but I had a conversation with a parent about you're saying to me that he put the dynamite outside the house and he didn't mean to light it, but the fact is he did, therefore that's why he's excluded for a week. And I had to say to him, I can't believe I'm having this conversation about someone.
Hey, but these are good conversations. Digital citizenship, the decisions we make, the way we're accountable for our actions, and also we're in school, right? We're doing these things for an educational purpose, and that's something that not all the students will jump to, because many of them are used to Minecraft in a completely non-educational context. And so setting the frame that this is class and we have expectations, all those things are needed. But it is, and I never make students operators, by the way, in Minecraft education. Now, in the summer, I've had high school students help me, and I will again be operators and moderators. And anyway, it is a lot of fun, but it is also fairly wild in terms of all the things that kids will do and come up with. So having having some older students who are on your team, anyway, it's been a lot of fun. And I think that the conversations that come out of that can definitely be durable. And there are ways that we can definitely have students intersecting the curriculum and the goals that we have for them with their language learning, along with other kinds of skills that are really important, and collaboration and working together. And when you get to see these things that we've built together in a virtual world, I'm telling you, it really does kind of give you this window into the future, because you're like, my gosh, what is this world going to look like in 10 or 20 years? It's like Ready Player One. If you've ever seen that movie, It's a great book by Ernest Cline. It's we're all kind of headed to a version of that in the future, and Minecraft gives you an opportunity to experience that and to tap some of the power, and also I think to really encourage students, because there is something about being able to make something, envision something in your mind and then build it, you know, and you will see different kids like, oh my gosh, there's just some, I don't know if that's a genetic thing that we're gifted with, but you definitely see some kids that are much more adept at it, and giving them this opportunity to shine and share what they're doing, and then use that to inspire others and collaborate. It can really be a wonderful thing.
No, I agree. And certainly as far as our school is concerned, we're using the special educational needs budget helps towards Minecraft, because, you know, the people who don't want to be out socializing in the playground, playing football, they come to the Minecraft club, and there are people, they make friends there, they find other people.
That's right.
So yeah, no, I'm very pro it. It's great.
There's a
Awesome.
wonderful group out of California called Connected Camps, and a number of years ago our daughter did a Connected Camp summer camp and formed friendships, and there were older students moderating. It was lovely. And I think that that's not probably going to become a primary curriculum for everyone, but having ways that those sorts of experiences can come into our educational curriculum, and also maybe it could be after school and extracurricular. That's a win. That's a potentially a win. But it's also something that is fraught with a lot of unexpected things, and so that's where it's great to team up together. And Minecraft Education has an excellent community of teachers around the world, and so definitely, you know, get on their website and register as a teacher, and utilize the resources that they have for learning about the tool and how to use it, and also just asking questions and support.
And I think what would be good, I mean, I was thinking it would be, there probably is a UK base, because I did get into a group, but it was people in the US time zone. So I was at 1 a.m. playing Minecraft with people, which is very nice to find out about it. But I thought if we could, you know, find some other people who are enthusiastic and set up something, so almost we can actually play together, work out things, and try not to die. I think that's my main thing.
Well, you know, you can be in creative mode or adventure mode, and anyway.
Actually, they do have that.
Or have a moderator that generously gives you food, and just tell everyone there's no player versus player here, and no TNT. So.
Although I have to say I've given in sometimes on that. Just
oh, it adds a whole other level of excitement. By sure.
But also it's getting the language, because I have been trying to find out what's the French for spawn. Because I'm doing Minecraft with my cousin's little boy. Every Saturday we get together and we're looking at someone who's done a voiceover about her experience of Minecraft. And he questions it as we go through. I'm seeing Eleni, she was born, and he says, no, it's not born, it's spawn. We need the word for spawn. So I think I've got the word. I think it's appear. You just say you appeared. But,
all right. Very
I
good.
could go. I must stop because I could go on and on.
No, I was going to say. So we're very conscious of Wes's time. Thank you so much, Wes, for your amazing expertise. As I knew it was going to be incredible. It's just been fantastic. It's been really, really fantastic. So thank you so much for your time and sharing all these creative ideas. And I'm sure the video on my YouTube channel will get lots and lots of views as well. And we will obviously tweet about it and extol the virtues of Minecraft and Scratch and everything that you've shown us today. It's been really creative and inspirational. So thank you so much. And personally, just thank you so much for everything that you do, Wes. I know I'm gushing, but it's just absolutely true. You're really an inspiration to me. So thank you so much for everything you've done for all those years and all those podcast reflections and all the camps that you do and that you tweet about. It's very much appreciated. It's amazing.
You are most welcome, and it's an honor to be with you all today, across the pond, as it were. So let's all go out and enjoy whatever remains of our hopefully sunny and beautiful day today.
I'll stop the recording now then. Thank you.
Thank you.